Resentment is not caused by other people. Take a moment to reflect back on just one instance where you felt wronged by, or you felt like you were hard done by or let down by someone else. The resentment that you might be holding onto is not caused by what that person did, is not caused by the event that unfolded, is not caused by the circumstances that you found yourself in, the upbringing, the background, the environment, which is unfortunately what a lot of us fall into the trap of doing, and pointing the finger at those external things when really we should be pointing the finger at ourselves, because resentment is caused by my perception of the situation. Two people can go through an awful circumstance. One person can feel completely ruined by it. The other person can feel empowered by it. I'll give you a great example. I went through, I used to work in a workplace for a very, what I would describe as a toxic boss, who made a lot of employees feel uncomfortable, who solely was seeking sort of targets and tangible quotas for employees to hit, as opposed to building a culture that people could actually, where employees could feel comfortable contributing, where employees felt psychologically safe. It was a very unsafe, uncomfortable environment. And it came to a head one moment where I was struggling with my mental health personally outside of work. And then when it took a toll on my performance in the workplace, instead of this boss asking how I'm doing, checking in with me, supporting me, put me on a performance improvement plan straight away. And for those who don't know, the performance improvement plan is effectively a way for a manager to manage someone out of the organization. And I felt really let down by her. But I was able to use my perception over a relatively short period of time to attach a different meaning to that circumstance. Instead of feeling like, she ruined my life and, made me feel awful emotionally inside, I attached a new meaning to that. I said, well, you know what? If I'd gone through what she went through her own experiences in the workplace, through her own experiences at home, I may have acted in that way. I have learned so much from her about how not to lead, about how to actually be a leader that demonstrates empathy, that cares. And I'm grateful for that, because, now I know how I'd like to look after my people in the future. And so the resentment was dropped. And what could have been a very negative downward spiral of doom and gloom turned into a very empowering circumstance. But as long as you harbor resentment towards others, towards yourself, for things that didn't happen, things that didn't go your way, for circumstances where you felt betrayed or hard done by, it is and will always be impossible to see yourself as self-reliant, independent, self-determining person, which is effectively what you're trying to do as you're building your business, as you're building your reputation, your social media presence, right? You have to become self-reliant. If you're constantly living in resentment, then you're outsourcing all of your power, all of your authority, all of your emotional regulation to someone else. They effectively have power over you. They can, wag their finger and wave their wand and talk and say something, and it'll immediately affect you. If everyone else should be dedicated to making you happy, then you'll be resentful when it doesn't work out that way. So you can't be reliant on others to find a sense of happiness and contentment. And you have to drop the resentment. We'll go deeper into, because it happens to all of us. And if we don't address it, it turns into a very negative loop. It actively chips away at your self-image, right? We've said to ourselves, okay, this is where I'm at. This is the kind of behaviors and the thinking that I'm involved in right now. It's not getting me to where I want to be, a thriving business, a thriving career, with the success, with the abundance, with the freedom and the fulfillment. So I know that I need to change my thinking and behavior. I know that in order to do that, I need to change my self-image, right? So you've written down this statement, or you've yet to write it down for you, Virgil. If you are holding yourself accountable to that self-image day in, day out, but you're holding on to resentment, it's like you are trying to run a 100-meter sprint with a 300-kilo lead vest on, and you are not going to go anywhere. Because if you experience an injustice, big or small, right, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference, right? Whatever's big, whatever's small, it still triggers, or it still might trigger you, or elicit some visceral reaction, some yuckiness inside of you, like, God, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe I didn't get the sale. I can't believe that post didn't do well. Can't believe this and that. Why does this happen to me? Why does this happen to me? If you're engaging in those kind of questions, that's a really great sign that you might be holding on to some resentment. Because what happens is, when we experience this injustice and we feel like a victim, then I see myself as a victim. Why is this happening to me? Nothing ever seems to go my way. I always fuck up. I always get let down by this person, by that person. I can't trust other people. I can't, build relationships. I can't build a successful career. I can't build a successful social media channel. I see myself as a victim. I act like a victim, right? You're feeling like a victim. You see yourself as a victim. You're acting like a victim. Then what happens? You continue to experience injustice, because you're acting like a victim and you're in a victim consciousness. And what does that do? It builds a habit. And this is what is called a psycho-cybernetic loop, where you experience an event, and it could have been very early on in life, like me, growing up with parents, or maybe it's something recently, and you attach a meaning to that event, right? You attach a meaning to this event and you repeat it. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. That meaning hardens into a belief, into your paradigm, right? Paradigm affects how you think. Thinking is electrical activity in the brain, which then produces hormones on an emotional level. You experience the thought as an emotion. That chips away at your self-image. You start to see yourself less as a powerful creator and more as a victim. Then you start acting out like a victim. You don't take inspired action towards your goal. You think that life just happens to you instead of happening for you. And then what happens? Well, of course, more shit will happen to you, and the habit becomes ingrained, and the cycle repeats itself. And it's a vicious cycle. It's a very vicious cycle. So here are my keys to forgiveness: forgiveness of others, forgiveness of self, to really liberate yourself from this burden, to become free, to have a very abundant, confident, open mindset. Because that openness is what's required to allow things to flow into your life. If you're harboring resentment, you're living in separation, you believe that the world is out to get you, when the truth is the world is in your corner and the universe is here to help you. And there's so much good that's flowing to you. And your dreams and your goals aren't things that you've just chosen. They're things that you've tuned into, because there's a version of you in the future that has those goals and desires. And it's not about doing more. It's about letting go of things that are holding you back. Forgiveness is the way to do that. And my keys of forgiveness start with finding empathy. So using, my example with this co-founder, I acknowledge that if I had been through the same challenges that he did, if I, acted in the way that he did, if I had been through the same upbringing and background, I, probably would have acted in the same way. I probably would have acted out of ignorance, and I probably would have done the things that he did. If I had been through what he did, then I get it. And that may feel ridiculous to you to do. It may feel very strange, but the truth is you have to find empathy for this individual, for yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to move past it. And I wasn't able to move past it until I did so. I harvest the lesson. Well, I know that now how important it is to identify shared values when working with someone, to really build a deep connection so that I can better understand who I'm surrounding myself with so I don't let myself get hurt in the way that I did. So I harvest the lesson and I harvest the good and I practice gratitude. I'm so grateful that I went through that because I now know how to build meaningful relationships with people. I know how to build trust and to elicit trust from others. I know how to look out for signs and indicators that someone may not be trustworthy or may not have integrity. So I'm grateful for it. And I send them love and I send them positivity. My grandma Tia is one of the most amazing, beautiful, loving, compassionate humans, angels who's ever lived. And she's a massive inspiration for me and for the work that I do. And one of the things that she taught me was regardless of whatever anyone does to you, send them love and send them positivity. And it may sound woo and it may sound kumbaya, but the truth is that is really liberating and that's a really freeing idea and practice. And when I sent them love and I sent them positivity, I was at peace with them and I was at peace with the situation. And you know when you are truly in the practice of forgiveness and when you no longer are harboring resentment, when you can hear that person's name or you can think about this person or this event and you're not triggered by it and you don't have some visceral reaction inside. You don't have that coming up anymore. That's when you know you're at peace.